Thanks a lot, Leo. I'm getting a little hungry here. Might be ready for some more tapas. Can we get them delivered? So we've got a few more minutes, so we'll do some Q&A and discussion. We'll take some questions from the audience, but I've got some myself as well. So first, I think maybe, Hanan, I'm curious, the time savings that you illustrated there seem really radical, and 150 pieces saving 23 hours, that seems pretty good, but I imagine you could scale that out a lot. I'm wondering, does that bring cost savings? Is this something that you're able to have better margin or offer for cheaper tier clients, or is it more about speed to market? What was the main motivator in using AI in that case?
I think it was more to get my team to have some fun first, and also thinking about AI differently when you develop a product. So we develop a lot of products at RGA. So currently, the most important usage of AI is around automation. And I think we're missing a lot of opportunities in the industry because we're focusing about how AI could have an interaction with a human being, but we're not there yet. And therefore, how we can integrate in our process, technique like machine learning in this specific case, being able to classify articles, which is not, extremely complicated. It's quite easy to be done nowadays. So it's just like thinking of AI differently. I think sometimes we are still thinking about science fiction. That's why we have difficulty to integrate it in our process and the way we work.
Okay, great. And a question for Leo and maybe you, Hanan, as well. I was interested, James, that you said creatives are really embracing this technology. And, I'm with a independent media agency. We're always partnered up with different creative firms, and I've seen a lot of different opinions on kind of how that works. So did you find that your creative partners really embraced that when you brought this forward, or have you encountered any pushback as you're trying to bring more advanced technology or AI into creative?
Well, I must say that it has been a process. Like we're never really used to work together. We're talking about false positives, second type error, and this kind of thing. So we really need to create a dialogue between us. But I must say one of my favorite meetings every week is when I meet with the creative team, because we can see how by now speaking the same languages and showing them the kind of signals that they can tap on, it has created a new way for them of thinking how to make the creative. So sometimes they come with these bold ideas, and we kind of scratch our heads, and we try to make them happen with the technology. So, and I think that kind of exercise is what many of the tech agencies kind of were asking to do, how to connect that kind of left side of the brain with the right side of the brain. So it's been a good process. I'm looking forward to the future of this.
Right, Hanan, did you have the same experience, or have you encountered any?
Yes, I think I totally echo what he's saying, especially because when you are a tech company, the creative are tech savvy. So they're looking for this type of experience, and they're looking to work closely with the tech and data guys to be able to develop this type of experience.
Could I add something?
Yeah, of course.
And I think what really seeing, and when you do the research, it's an emerging lifestyle. Creative intelligence is a lifestyle. That's what you're going to start seeing, that they're going to walk in, they're going to want to only work in these agencies, in these environments where they have access to this kind of toolkit. That's going to be the new lifestyle, that creative intelligence lifestyle.
Can't wait to see what the fashion looks like for that lifestyle. We've already got the AirPods and the scooters. James, for you, I was curious if you talked about digital anthropology, and we need digital anthropologists. I was on the Tapas tour last night, and our guide said he was also an anthropologist locally. If you go to the museum, there's a couple dozen pieces that he's actually unearthed. And I guess he gets that phone call when somebody's putting in a water main and they find an old jug. Digital anthropology, I imagine, is a little bit different. Can you maybe go deeper on what that would look like?
So anthropology in its classic form is studying people in real life through different ethnography. But then when you look at the digital realm, we have these digital villages popping up around the world on a regular basis. And data scientists are doing an incredible job of finding these digital villages. But you need anthropology, you need digital anthropology to learn how to study those digital villages. They're trained in those kinds of thinking. And so it's a whole new paradigm, and I think you're going to see this gain big momentum. We have been doing a lot of research on this, and it's a different perspective of human science. So it's basically, in short, they've been trained to study digital villages, how we live digitally, and that's what the momentum we're advocating.
Is that something you feel like journalists are doing now, that they get into these kind of communities and study that, or what does the skill set look like for somebody to find those digital villages and then study them?
Well, I think the skill set, we used this one illustration in this podcast when it came out, is that if you wanted to study ayahuasca in Peru, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, you would have an anthropologist go down and study this village. But 600 years ago, you couldn't even get to Peru from the UK. You didn't know how to sail below the equator. But when the technology came out and you could get a boat and a navigator to Peru, did you ask the captains of the ships to get off and study the people? No, you take an anthropologist to study. So data science is finding these villages. But are they really the best field of science to study those villages? And our advocacy is that it's really digital anthropology that are equipped to study it and not using different research methods. There are just not enough universities graduating these postgraduate degrees.
Interesting. And Manu, since we're talking about universities here with an academic environment, I'm curious, are you seeing people that are coming through your programs? Do you think that you're going to fill that demand gap? Is that something that there's more interest in among those entering sort of the educational system now?
Yeah, we see a big change in terms of democratization of AI and machine learning. Basically, in two directions. What you was sharing with the Google Cloud, for instance, these kind of platforms today release a lot of productivity capabilities for organizations to get data more easily, to bring models like computer vision on a more, let's say, commodities way. At the same time, we see a democratization in skills as well, because business people, for instance, going out of university or business schools are much more educated on machine learning, starting very, very young. And the younger generations, so the kids, 10 years, 12 years, they're all programming. So programming is going to be a kind of a new language, very close to what you were saying before. So you'll have a team member as tools more accessible, but you also have skills in the people that will be much better educated.
Interesting. So I think that's a good segue into what might be the last question I want to open up to the full panel here. What advice would you give to somebody who's either just entering the workforce or thinking about kind of what to do in terms of going to school, learning? You're saying everybody's programming, but given the future that we're looking at here and the importance of AI, what kind of skill sets would you recommend to anybody here in the audience to pick up, or those with kids to try and steer them in that direction?
So just very quickly on that, so what we see right now happening in the company that are mature in analytics, they need to educate the workforce, basically, so the middle management in particular. So we see a kind of needed balance between business, classical skills, let's say, creativity is one, leadership, management is one, and how do we balance this skill with the needed knowledge in terms of problem solving, analytical thinking, and so on. And that has an impact on the company on the two sides. By formulating data science or engagements in data science with more business acumen, let's say. And on the other side, rethinking the way we formulate or we work on business. Strategy, for instance. Strategy formulation today is totally different than we did 10 years ago.
Leo, what do you think?
I think, as Manu is saying, that the society is moving very fast towards technology and we're getting more educated. And I think it's in the future more than ever, all those soft skills are going to be super important for the technologists to be able to reach out to be decision makers, to creative people, to artists. So you can basically discuss and translate that into technology. So I would say let's focus on the tech, but let's not forget those skills as well.
Yeah, I think we will need to change the education system and the academic system, because we put people in a box, and currently we see we have a struggle because it's either you're analytic person or you're not, or you're a creative person. And I study statistics, and I'm good at my job because I'm really creative. And I think what is emerging is like problem solving, creativity, and analytical mindset. And currently how we educate kids, they have to drop in one, and it's not where the future is heading. So I think we need to rethink all our education system.
So maybe new fields, new majors, combining things like technology, programming, and creativity instead of siloing those in.
Yeah.
That's great. James, what do you think?
And I agree with what they're saying. I think what you look at Stanford just last year, they introduced this computational journalism. And you can see computational thinking needs to get added in almost every discipline that's out there to prep the mind. And I also think that universities, given the digital world we live in, they need to step up and take a role in contributing to humans flourishing. And what that means to flourish as a human. And there's some incredible studies going on about the 4 dynamics of what it means to flourish as a human. And we need to get trained on that. And I think universities need to step up and take part of not just advocating achievement, but they need to advocate how to flourish as a human, given the amount of digital pressures, digital ecosystems, and all that combined together. So computational sciences and understanding how to flourish is what we think needs to happen.
Good. Well, let's work on it. Combine the right brain, left brain here. That's our time. But big thanks to our presenters. Appreciate it. Great insights.
Thank you.